Introducing the Mower Master Towable Topping Mower. Proudly manufactured in New Zealand from top quality components. Powered by an electric start 11.5 horsepower industrial Briggs & Stratton motor. A belt drives 3 blades giving a 1200mm cutting width. Totally adjustable. Can be towed behind any vehicle with a drawbar. Buy a Mower Master Topping Mower right now, $3,700, and we will pay the freight anywhere in New Zealand. Well, you got all the poles here. Good sign of hardwood cuttings, Kevin.
Very much so. It's quite a unique situation really when you think of cuttings here. These hardwood cuttings, they're 3 metres long,
Yep.
which is a pretty butty solid cutting, as you might imagine. But we harvest them in their dormant state. So that's obviously they're deciduous. That we wait till total leaf fall before we start to cut and harvest the material. And it's really actually, they grow like billio, they fire the roots basically coming into spring. And so they're basically just stuck straight into the ground. We're putting a 600 pilot hole for the 3 metre poles. That's how the farmers put them in.
Yeah,
You've got a nice deep hole for them to fire up into that spring summer period.
Yes, and you look at them though, for the uninitiated or some that are very even, which is up, which is down.
Yeah, very much so. So to make it quite simple, especially with the smaller material, for some of the material here, when we cut them, we slice them on the angle. So that there's 2 purposes. Hey, that's the way that goes in the ground, but also it helps when you're driving them in with a pole rammer, so it's got a spike on it to help it penetrate down into the soil.
A totally different approach to planting, isn't it? But being hardwood cuttings, there's a lot of things at this time of the year. People, if they're wanting to do cuttings, they should be getting their apple tree cuttings, their blackcurrant cuttings and everything, and virtually putting them in where they're going to grow.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, very much so.
Do you recommend farmers putting a little bit of mulch around where each one is going, or is it plenty?
No, basically they're incredibly good at firing up and growing once you plant them into the ground. As long as moisture's the big thing really to start with, and getting them through that first summer. So basically it's just ramming them in, and the big thing that you need to do is after you've planted your pole, going into that November period, if you have a bit of a dry, sometimes you get some shrinkage around the top of the stem. So you go back and you need to just re-ram those poles.
Yeah.
So you try not to damage any of the roots lower down, but if they move inside the hole, basically they'll snap off all those roots they've developed. So it's re-ramming.
Never get ahead.
So you have to re-ram them is one of the keys.
Yes, so that's one of the, and you've mentioned we're going to go and have a look at some netting to put up round them, and so that indicates rabbits and so on.
Predominantly the big thing is cattle. So these are grown in the paddocks with the cattle.
Yeah.
So that's hence the big solid 3 metre poles with a minimum bottom end diameter of 55 to 75, and the sleeve on them stops them from stripping the bark, especially when they're in the juvenile state. Once they get older and get a harder established bark, the stock, there's less ring barking. So that's the key aspect of the sleeves.
Right. Well, I heard a chainsaw going over the back there. You got a few people doing some harvesting?
Yeah, we've got a crew of 4 here at the moment, getting all the material sorted to get out to our farmers. It's quite a compact time. I have one semi-permanent staff member here who runs the show. He basically keeps his eye on the finger on the pulse, and that's why we're getting this quality material coming out. Yeah.
Yes, because it's a lovely straightness. You know, it's quite a tribute to obviously to get these nice and straight. You're going to have to start doing things that are right from the beginning. Otherwise, they will move and twist and so on.
Very much so, and I think that's something that that's a really good point that gets missed. There's so much work that goes into these poles to supply them, and we're supplying them basically at cost recovery.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of work that goes into them.
Yes, and that's fantastic. Well, let's go and look at some of the other workers that are going to be that all add into the mix, and remember, their job is holding the topsoil on top of all that papa way out east. And Kevin, it wouldn't be Taranaki if you didn't have a little bit of mud in one part of your access there.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what are your crew doing? Because you seem to have quite specialised tasks, chainsaw, measuring stick and so on, and,
Yep.
and then the clean-up happening.
Yep, very much so. So basically what we're trying to do is pull out all the 3 metre material that's sized up, and what we're doing there is taking them off the stalls. So this material is 2 years old. So it's phenomenal what it can grow to.
Yeah.
We try and keep the large end diameter just so we can fit the sleeves over the top, and as well as planting in the holes and weight and carrying them around. We keep it to a 55 to 75 bottom end diameter, and we want a minimum of 25 millimetres at the top.
Right,
so that we can actually ram the pole. Anything lighter flexes around and bends.
I see, and splits, and you're going to have trouble getting into it.
So that's the initial gauging, and we've got the rest of the team here taking off all the extra branches and stems. Obviously, we're just taking the bare pole out in the field.
So what happens to all these stems and the bits over? Because notorious, if you mulch them up and spread them, you'll get a million little poplars and willows growing.
Yeah. Basically, what we do, there's a lot of issues, or not issues, but things we have to do to manage that mulch properly. So we do mulch, we chip. There's 1 metre material that comes off of here for sale as well, and sometimes 2.5 metre and 2 metre off the top. The rest of the material that gets mulched, we actually let it sit in a particular location for some time just to let it cook up and do its thing. Because if we just spread it around, like you said, it'll be everywhere. Because one of the big things is silverleaf. So it's basically the bugbear of growing poplars and willows, poplars in particular. So we have a real serious hygiene issue in the nursery to make sure that we avoid transmitting and transferring silverleaf throughout.
So I imagine then that also applies to when they move, your staff move from block to block, they're going to clean their pruning gear, clean their loppers and everything.
We've got sprayers for them with meths and so on. We're cleaning the chainsaw, the loppers, the secateurs, everything's kept clean. In between every break you're looking and identifying any material in the field. So you're spraying that, marking the stalks, so that's going to be removed down the track, and just avoiding it where you can.
And that's a very good point for people in general. If they're pruning and everything, moving from tree to tree, do a bit of a clean of your pruning gear so you're not passing anything on, isn't it?
Very much so.
So home garden, the rules that apply in a big commercial setup like this apply at home, and just like washing your hands after the toilet, the restaurant guy's got to do it, you've got to do it at home. Now, you've got them working away here, and I noticed a few big bits that are lying around. What happens to them?
Yeah, pretty much. They're firewood, really. They do go through the chipper, but if there's any other use we can use it, it's better to go to a good home like that. But the mulcher goes right down to 9 inch, so she takes some big material through the chipper. And so a lot of that still gets mulched, but it goes back into the system around here. We've got some demo sites. Nothing goes to waste. It's all recycled.
That which is great to see, because how many trees do you have, or stalls are in a block?
We've probably got about 14,000 stalls all up.
Right.
In the whole nursery, so there's a couple of thousand in each block. So it's quite a major.
So you're rotating then you've got one block sort of producing the 2 year, and then you're growing on the next ones as the 1 year old.
And some of the material is slower than others, so it's 3 to 4 years on some of the material to grow a pole. So that's the other thing, it's like a 2 year of rotation, but then it's some 3 and 4, so it's quite a juggle to get things right in the nursery to make sure you've got a continuity of supply every year.
Now, your path to becoming nursery manager at Taranaki Regional Council, where'd you learn your stuff?
I'm pretty lucky, really. I've had a varied life in different roles, but when I was studying, I was working as a nursery propagation specialist down in Ashurst for a few years while I was studying, and been involved in the forestry industry and so on as well. So horticultural and agricultural background. Been around a while within the council now, in the hill country team, but seeing how things work out in the field, what's needed in the field, what the farmers want, talking to the farmers, what we need to grow, I was a good candidate to put in the role.
Yes, because I imagine there's a little bit of trial and error has to happen as to varieties and everything, because you don't have a hill country demonstration farm, do you?
No, that's right. So we try. That's exactly right. So we've been watching everything we try here and try it in the field. We're the ones who've got to watch it with our farmers and have and see what's coming through. Because we are so variable to any other region. All of New Zealand, there's poplars and willows being planted, and we get to talk with other nursery managers, which is great, and share information. But our own climate, our own situation, soil types, and so on, things.
Yes, it certainly is the big, and it's such a unique landform, Eastern Taranaki. Quite different from just about all the other high country, hill country of New Zealand, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. Looking at the soil types and what it's come from with the marine terrace, what it's formed from, those landforming processes. Yeah.
Yes, and you yourself, did you manage to get off nursery and go out and see the fruits of your labour?
Very much so. Yeah, I'm quite lucky. I get to see it from here right to the end product, and working through with the farmers and getting out and pruning a few trees with them as well. There's nothing like getting out there and doing it and help the farmers get an understanding of how and why to prune and when.
Yes, and it's an amazing, that falls straight into one of those things that regional councils, district councils, centres of educated learning for so much, aren't they?
Very much so. Yep, for sure.
But well, let's wander off and leave these noisy fellas here. They're working hard and still smiling in spite of the boss gazing over them. So you must have a great team here with them.
Fantastic and great place to work.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
Yes,
no, really good.
Yes. Do they ever get the urge that they've got to get onto bigger chainsaws, though, just apart from the little ones?
Oh, I think they take good pride. Brian especially in his chainsaw. That's his chainsaw, and he looks after it pretty closely. No one else will be using that one.
No, fair enough. You know what they say. You can loan your wife, you can loan your car, even let your dogs go out, but never, ever loan your chainsaw. Introducing the Mower Master Towable Topping Mower. Proudly manufactured in New Zealand from top quality components. Powered by an electric start 11.5 horsepower industrial Briggs & Stratton motor. A belt drives 3 blades giving a 1200mm cutting width. Totally adjustable. Can be towed behind any vehicle with a drawbar. Buy a Mower Master Topping Mower right now. $3,700 and we will pay the freight anywhere in New Zealand.